Ladies and gentlemen, a house built on sand cannot endure the storm. Likewise, a relationship built without wisdom will shake when tested. If you desire a love that endures trials, temptations, and time, then you must learn the 7 rules to become unshakable in your connection with another. Inner discipline is the foundation of unshakable love. This truth is often forgotten in the pursuit of relationships. Many seek connection out of emptiness rather than out of abundance. But what happens when 2 unprepared souls come together? They do not lift each other, they lean on each other until they fall. Before love can be offered as a gift, it must first be cultivated within. A person who lacks self-control, self-respect, or direction will not bring peace into a relationship. They will bring confusion. Think of a tree planted by still waters. Its roots grow deep. It does not depend on the changing winds or the unpredictable sky. It draws strength from within. In the same way, a man or woman rooted in discipline does not fall apart when difficulties come. Arguments don't shake them. Rejection doesn't define them. Temptation does not lure them off the path, because they are anchored, they are steady, they are whole. Now reflect on how many relationships break, not because love is absent, but because self-mastery is. One partner is ruled by emotion while the other is guided by ego. Neither has taken the time to build themselves, and so their relationship becomes a battlefield, not a bond. Scripture teaches, a man without self-control is like a city broken into and left without walls. Proverbs 25:28. Without inner discipline, one becomes vulnerable to every passing emotion, every external pressure, and every moment of weakness. The desire to love and be loved is noble, but love requires responsibility. It demands that you are capable of managing your inner world before inviting someone into it. Discipline means doing what is right, even when no one is watching. It means holding back when you want to explode. It means speaking life instead of using words as weapons. And it means choosing faithfulness over fleeting pleasure. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. A disciplined person may stumble, but they rise quickly. They do not wallow in regret, they correct their course. In the stillness of discipline, a person becomes strong. Their emotions no longer dominate them. Their past no longer chains them. They are not ruled by the need for approval or the fear of being alone. And because of this, when they do choose a partner, they do so from a place of wisdom, not desperation. They are not looking for someone to save them or validate them. They are looking for someone to walk with them. Relationships that are unshakable begin with people who have learned to be unshakable alone. They've been tested in silence. They've endured the wilderness of solitude. They've wrestled with their fears, their habits, and their desires. And through that refining process, they've become the kind of person who doesn't need chaos to feel alive. They bring peace. They bring order. They bring stability. If you do not yet feel steady within, pause before seeking someone else to lean on. Ask yourself, are you running to love because you are ready to give, or because you are afraid to be alone? Only when you are at peace with yourself can you truly offer peace to another. Only when your own house is in order can you welcome someone into it. Becoming unshakable starts with discipline, because discipline builds character, and character is the foundation of any lasting relationship. You don't build a temple on shifting sand. You build it on rock. Let that rock be the strength you have forged in the quiet, when no one was watching. Let it be your training ground, your preparation. Love is a sacred bond, but it can only thrive when built by those who have first mastered themselves. Set boundaries as sacred commitments. In the same way that the Creator gave laws, not to burden but to protect. Healthy boundaries in relationships serve as sacred safeguards, preserving peace, order, and love. Many people misunderstand boundaries as restrictions, as if they are fences meant to imprison desire. But in truth, boundaries are divine structures. Just as rivers flow powerfully when guided by banks, love flows most beautifully within the safety of principles. When a man and woman come together without agreed boundaries, the relationship becomes a field without a fence open to trespassers, confusion and disorder. And what is sacred, if not protected, will slowly lose its value. In relationships, the loss of value rarely begins with a single betrayal. It begins with the neglect of small boundaries. A joke made in poor taste, a message left unanswered, a conversation that goes too far with someone else. These things may seem minor, but they are like cracks in a foundation. Over time, water seeps in, ice forms, and the entire structure weakens. Look to the scriptures. Every covenant had terms, conditions to honor, laws to obey, not because love needs rules to exist, but because humans need reminders of what matters. Without boundaries, even the purest love can become diluted by distraction, disrespect, or assumption. A relationship is not made strong by passion alone, it is strengthened by principles, boundaries that both people choose to honor, not out of fear but out of love. Boundaries are not just about preventing harm. They are about nurturing clarity. When both individuals know what is acceptable and what is not, the relationship becomes a space of freedom, not confusion. It's ironic, but true freedom comes from structure. A couple that clearly defines what they allow and disallow in communication, friendships, conflict, and time management actually experiences more peace, not less. Let your boundaries reflect your values. If honesty is sacred to you, then deceit, even in small forms, should never be brushed aside. If loyalty is your standard, then emotional flirting or unfaithful habits, no matter how subtle, must not be entertained. These are not rules you impose to control your partner. They are agreements you both choose to keep because the relationship matters that much. In a world where emotional impulses often override discipline, boundaries can feel inconvenient. But anything worth protecting requires effort. You lock your home at night, not because you expect a thief, but because you value what's inside. So too with love, set boundaries not because you expect betrayal, but because you honor what you've built. And let us not forget, boundaries must be mutual. One-sided rules breed resentment. Real connection comes when both hearts agree to the same level of respect. You cannot expect faithfulness if you are entertaining alternatives. You cannot demand openness while hiding your own truths. Double standards are the death of trust. Boundaries are not control, they are covenant. Also, understand that boundaries are not static. They require communication, reflection, and adjustment. As seasons change, so do needs. What once felt harmless might now feel invasive. Growth demands new standards. And if love is growing, your agreements should evolve too. If a couple can treat their shared boundaries as sacred, as deeply meaningful and non-negotiable, the relationship will have roots. It won't sway with every wind of emotion or temptation. It will stand because its structure is respected by both. Boundaries are not about building walls around your heart. They are about building doors. Doors that only open to what is healthy and close to what is harmful. When honored with maturity and reverence, boundaries become an act of worship. They say, this love is worth protecting. This bond is not ordinary. This space between us is sacred. And where there is sacredness, there is strength. Be slow to speak, quick to listen. These few words, drawn from James 1:19, carry the weight of centuries of wisdom. They are not merely advice for conversation. They are a blueprint for building strong, respectful, and lasting relationships. In a world where speed is celebrated and silence is often mistaken for weakness, this principle feels almost radical. But in truth, it is a divine strategy for communication, for peace, and for intimacy. Many relationships are destroyed, not by lack of love, but by careless words spoken in haste. Words are not weightless, they are seeds. Some grow into healing, while others grow into hurt. Once spoken, they cannot be taken back. That is why the wisdom to pause, breathe, and listen before responding is a mark of maturity. A man or woman who listens more than they speak creates a space where understanding can grow, and where understanding lives, connection deepens. To listen is not just to hear words, it is to hear the heart behind the words. Too often, people listen only to reply, not to understand. They craft arguments in their minds while their partner is still speaking. This is not communication, it is combat. In such a space, no one feels truly seen or heard. But to be truly unshakable in a relationship, you must develop the discipline of hearing beyond the noise, listening not just with your ears, but with your spirit. Listening is a form of love. It says, your thoughts matter, your emotions are valid, you are worth my full attention. When you listen deeply, you begin to hear more than complaints. You hear fears, insecurities, and silent cries for reassurance. And when you respond with gentleness, instead of defensiveness, healing begins. Being slow to speak also guards against the temptation to speak from anger. Anger is not always wrong, but reacting in anger is often destructive. Words spoken in a moment of rage can fracture trust in a way that takes years to repair. A soft answer turns away wrath, Proverbs 15:1. But harsh words stir up strife. Therefore, silence in the heat of conflict is not weakness, it is wisdom. It gives room for clarity to rise and emotion to settle, even in moments of correction. Choose your words carefully. Truth without grace feels like judgment. But when you speak with gentleness, correction becomes a gift, not a wound. An unshakable person knows that timing matters just as much as truth. Not every truth must be spoken immediately. Some truths, when shared too soon or too sharply, do more harm than good. But when delivered with patience and humility, truth becomes a tool that builds, not breaks. Learning to listen well also requires silence, not just external quiet, but internal stillness. Many people cannot truly listen because their minds are cluttered with their own opinions, fears, and needs. To listen well, you must empty yourself of the need to be right. You must be willing to lay down your defenses and enter the world of another. Only then can two people walk together in unity. Let every conversation be a sacred exchange, not a battleground. Create space for your partner to express without fear of interruption or judgment. Practice the art of asking questions that invite honesty and be prepared to sit quietly with the answers, even when they are uncomfortable. This is the soil where trust grows. To be slow to speak and quick to listen is not a passive stance. It is an active choice, a discipline. It is the mark of a person who does not react to every word but responds with wisdom. This is how you become a safe space for your partner. This is how love becomes a sanctuary, not a struggle. And in that sanctuary, the relationship becomes unshakable. Not because there are no storms, but because both partners have learned the art of peace, even in the midst of tension. Consistency is a silent covenant. In relationships, it is not the grand declarations that build trust, but the small, repeated actions that prove reliability over time. While words may inspire for a moment, it is consistent behavior that reassures the heart day after day. Just as the sun rises every morning without fail, and seasons come in their appointed time, love that is dependable becomes a shelter from the chaos of life. Many people chase the high moments, the surprise gifts, the romantic gestures, the emotional peaks. But relationships are not sustained on highlights. They are built on the ordinary, on what is done when no one is watching, and on who you are when nothing exciting is happening. In the silence between storms, consistency becomes the anchor. It says, I am here, not just in word, but in presence. It says, you can count on me, not through promises, but through proof. Scripture reminds us that his mercies are new every morning. Lamentations 3. There is something deeply powerful about knowing that a fresh, steady love is offered each day. This reflects divine character, unchanging, faithful, present. In relationships, this divine rhythm should be mirrored in the way we show up for each other. Not once, not when it's easy, but always. A person who is consistent doesn't have to explain themselves constantly because their life becomes their message. Their behavior speaks louder than any apology or excuse. If you say you love someone, let them feel that love in the way you show up, in the tone of your voice, in your patience during their bad days, and in the way you handle both joy and disappointment. True consistency is not mechanical, it is deeply human and deeply spiritual. Yet many relationships suffer because one or both partners are unpredictable. Today they are warm, tomorrow cold. Today they care, tomorrow they disappear. This emotional inconsistency becomes a breeding ground for anxiety. It makes the other person feel like they are walking on eggshells, unsure of what version of their partner they'll face. That is not love. That is instability disguised as passion. You do not have to be perfect to be consistent. Consistency is not about never failing. It is about returning, coming back to center, owning your mistakes, making small efforts to rebuild, being there when it matters most. Even a small candle, when lit faithfully each night, offers more light than a firework that shines once and vanishes. People often underestimate how healing it is to have someone they can rely on emotionally. To know that when they speak, they will be heard. That when they are weak, they will not be mocked. That when they cry, they will not be left alone. This kind of dependable presence creates a bond that is hard to shake, because it is built on trust, earned over time layer by layer. If love is a garden, consistency is the water. No matter how rich the soil or beautiful the seeds, without steady watering, growth will stop. You can't flood the roots with attention once a month and expect the relationship to thrive. It needs daily nourishment, sometimes in large ways, sometimes in small, quiet acts of care. Relationships that last are not driven by emotion alone. They are shaped by discipline, guided by values, and kept alive through rhythm. Be the one who keeps rhythm, even when your partner falters. Because over time, that steady beat becomes the heartbeat of the relationship. To become unshakable in love, you must become consistent in action. Let your yes be yes and your no be no. Show up even when you don't feel like it. Choose faithfulness over feelings. In doing so, your love will not only be felt, it will be trusted. And that trust will become a foundation that even life's hardest storms cannot crack. Forgiveness is not forgetting the wrong, it is choosing to release the weight of it. In relationships, forgiveness is not just an act of kindness, it is a spiritual discipline. Without it, love cannot survive. Two imperfect people cannot build something sacred together unless they both learn the power of grace. The scriptures say love keeps no record of wrongs. 1 Corinthians 13:5. This is not a command to become blind, it is an invitation to become free. Resentment is a silent poison. It may not explode like anger, but it seeps into every conversation, every moment of closeness, every decision to trust again. It is the quiet voice that says, they'll do it again, or they don't deserve your love. Over time, that voice becomes louder than love itself. And where resentment grows, intimacy dies. To forgive is not to excuse what was done. It is to say, I choose peace over bitterness. I choose healing over holding on. And sometimes this choice must be made daily. The offense may still sting. The memory may still be raw. But forgiveness is not a feeling. It is a decision, a holy decision to not let the pain control the future. There is a reason Jesus taught that we must forgive 70 times 7, Matthew 18:22. It is not because people always deserve forgiveness, but because we deserve freedom. Holding on to offense ties your heart to the pain. Forgiveness cuts the rope. It does not mean you forget the lesson. It does not mean you tolerate abuse, but it does mean you release your right to revenge. You stop rehearsing the hurt and begin choosing restoration, even if that restoration is within yourself. In a relationship, the ability to forgive is not weakness, it is strength. It is a form of spiritual maturity. You will be disappointed. You will be misunderstood. Your partner will not always meet your expectations. But when your love is grounded in grace, you stop keeping score and start building bridges. You stop expecting perfection and start growing through imperfection together. Still, forgiveness must walk hand in hand with accountability. It is not blind. It sees clearly and still chooses love. You can forgive someone and still set boundaries. You can forgive and still ask for change. Forgiveness is not the absence of consequences. It is the absence of hate. It is choosing not to weaponize the past every time the future feels uncertain. And there is a deeper layer to forgiveness that many overlook: self-forgiveness. Sometimes the hardest person to forgive is the one staring back in the mirror. We carry guilt for the things we said, the things we allowed, the moments we stayed silent when we should have spoken. But carrying guilt does not heal. It only delays growth. You cannot offer real love to another when you secretly believe you are unworthy of it yourself. When both partners are committed to living a lifestyle of forgiveness, the relationship becomes a safe place, not because there are no wounds, but because wounds are not left untreated. Conversations become cleaner, hearts become softer, and peace is restored more quickly. Let forgiveness be your default, not your last resort. Speak words that heal, not just words that defend. Ask for forgiveness when you've fallen short. Offer it when it's hard. Let your pride decrease so that love can increase. Because where there is true forgiveness, there is also freedom. And freedom is the soil where unshakable love takes root. A relationship without forgiveness is doomed to fracture under the weight of offense. But a relationship built on grace, daily, humble, honest grace, becomes stronger with every storm it survives. Not because the storm never came, but because forgiveness calmed the winds. Patience is the quiet strength that holds love together when everything else wants to fall apart. It is the posture of the spirit that says, I will not rush what takes time to build. In relationships, patience is not passive. It is not weakness or hesitation. It is endurance with grace. It is the choice to stay, to wait, to believe, and to give space for growth, even when that growth is slow or uncomfortable. We live in a world of instant gratification. Everything is expected to come quickly. Communication, resolution, affection, understanding. But love is not a microwave meal. It is more like a slow fire, carefully tended, deeply felt, and gradually matured. The book of Ecclesiastes reminds us to everything there is a season, and relationships are no different. There are seasons of joy, of conflict, of distance, and of closeness. Patience is what keeps you grounded through all of them. A relationship without patience becomes a pressure cooker. Every mistake becomes unbearable. Every delay becomes a disaster. Every flaw becomes a failure. But when you walk in patience, you give both yourself and your partner the room to be human. You accept that love is a journey, not a fixed destination. And along that journey, you will both stumble, misunderstand, disappoint, and need time to learn. Impatience is often a sign of self-centeredness. It demands what it wants, when it wants, without considering the process the other person is going through. But patience is love that considers the other. It says, I see your effort, not just your results. I believe in your becoming, not just in what you are right now. And that belief, that quiet, steady commitment, is what builds trust. Patience in a relationship is not just about waiting for someone to change. It is about walking beside them while they grow. It's about learning to be still in the moments when emotions flare and clarity hasn't yet arrived. It's about listening with your heart instead of reacting with your pride. It's about breathing through discomfort and not turning away when things take longer than expected. Even in conflict, patience changes everything. When you are patient, you don't rush to defend yourself or correct your partner. You allow space for the truth to unfold. You don't need to win the argument. You want to understand the pain beneath the words. This doesn't mean tolerating harmful behavior. It means creating an atmosphere where real dialogue and restoration can take place. Patience is also essential in healing. Some wounds in a relationship are not resolved in a day. Trust takes time to rebuild. Apologies need time to prove themselves. Promises need time to become patterns. If you demand instant restoration, you risk forcing a process that needs space to unfold. But if you are willing to be patient, even the deepest cracks can be mended with care and consistency. And don't forget, patience must be practiced with yourself as well. You are learning just as your partner is. There will be days when you don't respond as wisely as you hoped. Days when you react, when you shut down, when you withdraw. Don't let those moments define you. Let patience guide you back to humility, back to effort, back to grace. In every great love story, patience is the invisible thread that holds it all together. It's not always dramatic. It doesn't seek applause. But it is always there in the pauses, in the silences, in the repeated attempts to love better. It is there when everything seems stuck and still you choose to stay. Patience makes a relationship unshakable because it is not moved by the urgency of the moment. It sees the bigger picture. It knows that anything worth building takes time, and when both partners walk in patience with each other and with themselves, they build something that cannot easily be shaken, something slow, deep, and enduring, something sacred. The path to becoming unshakable in love is not marked by perfection, but by intention. It is not about mastering your partner, but mastering yourself. Each of the 7 rules, spiritual alignment, clarity of purpose, deep listening, consistency, forgiveness, patience, and the unseen 7th yet to be revealed, form a foundation not just for relationship survival, but for divine partnership. Relationships are not random. They are assignments. Sacred spaces where 2 souls are refined, where love becomes a practice, not just a feeling. And if you build your relationship on these principles, you won't just survive the storms, you'll stand taller after them. You will speak less and understand more. You will forgive sooner and love deeper. You will show up, not just with your presence, but with your patience, your peace, and your prayers. Remember, being unshakable does not mean being unmoved. It means knowing where to return when the world tries to tear love apart. It means living rooted in truth, responding with grace, and walking with humility. The world teaches us to protect our pride. The Spirit teaches us to protect our peace. So become the person who doesn't flinch when things get hard. The one who listens without interrupting. The one who forgives when it's hardest. The one who is steady when others are unstable. Because love like that, discipled love, deliberate love, divine love, is the kind that lasts. And in the stillness of that kind of love, you will find something rare. You will find that no matter what shakes around you, nothing can shake what's within you.